Hello everyone! I thought we'd try something a little bit different with this video. We have predominantly been doing PvE and PvP build meta for Crusaders. However, there is an update dropping tomorrow. Downtime should be 12 to 2 New Zealand time. And it has some Crusader Legendaries. So I thought it would be cool to go over the patch notes, see what the new features are in this game, and use my animated character that I used to use for streaming way back in the day. So you have a nice little view of me while we have a quick chat. Now, I'm not a big fan of cutting videos into 72 different takes, so this is all just one take off the cuff. We're going to have a look through the patch notes and see what is of interest, and for us Crusaders, see what is of interest of the Crusader new legendaries as well. Now, this is going to be a Crusader channel. I only play Crusader. I've been playing Crusader since Alpha. I've never done a class change, and I am a big fan of only talking about what you know. I don't want to get into any hypothesis or conjecture. I don't play any other classes. You're not going to hear me talking about other classes. What do I know? There's other channels to do that. Anyway, let's have a look at these patch notes. So, let's look at the new activities. Now it's an MMO. What would an MMO be without fishing? So this seems to be 3 separate areas that are safe. You're not going to get attacked while you're in these areas, and you can fish. Seems relatively straightforward. You buy the bait from a vendor within the towns. Then you go to these areas. You can hold up to 99 pieces at any given time. And you go there and fish. There'll be a rod icon next to your skill buttons. You cast it out. Now, the actual functionality of the fishing seems a bit weird. Now, I'm a fan of fishing mechanics in MMOs and games. I played the crap out of Sea of Thieves, and there is a gigantic meta with fishing in that game, which was actually really cool. So I'm a fan of this. I've actually been legitimately looking forward to this since it was data mined quite a while ago. But the mechanics here seems to be you put the rod out and a bar begins to fill depending on how long it's in there, and you have 3 phases. The longer you wait, the higher the chances of the rarity of the fish or item, because I've heard that legendaries can be caught in this method as well. The higher the probability that the rarity of the fish will be. However, if the timer fills up, the fish will go restless and piss off. So anything that caught gets directly into your inventory, and then you go back to the vendor to then sell whatever you fish up. So there's 5 categories of fish. We've got common, uncommon, rare, legendary, and mythic. And we have an update to the bestiary. So within the bestiary, there'll be 40 unique species of fish. Apparently, there'll be rewards for having the heaviest fish or what have you. Angler log rewards for dedicated adventurers to collect by catching unique fish species. I'm a big fan of this. There's been plenty of times in the game, once within warbands or just on Discord with the clan, where you've done everything that you've wanted to do. You've done your dailies, you're sick of farming, you've done your 3 dungeons, or you're burnt out with dungeons and drop rates, and you're just sitting in Discord having a chat with everyone, mulling around, just doing nothing. Those are the scenarios where I can see I'd be doing this. Say I log in an hour early for my warband activity, or we log in hours early for Rite of Passage to discuss meta or planning. So I thought that would be ideal scenarios where I can see me using this feature. However, again, I came from Sea of Thieves quite a while ago, and I loved the fishing meta in that. So I'm really looking forward to this. I'm going to be fishing the crap out of whatever I can drag up on here. Now, the other update that I'm really looking forward to is the activity schedule and calendar. So you have a dedicated calendar where you can put your clan and warband activities into And then anyone in that said clan or warband will be able to look at the activity scheduler and see what's coming up. Now, our particular warband, we always do 9 p.m. server time on Sundays and Mondays for the warband raids and castle defense, both the event itself and the endless. Because for us, we found it was probably the best way to do it with regards to the server resets, which I believe are on Sunday nights. It allows us to just get them out of the way first thing in the week. And then if we want to do another run at Endless to get back up on the leaderboard, we do that on Sunday. Sometimes we don't if we're quite confident. Either way, it allows us to get around about 600 of the table currency a night. On the Sundays and Mondays we do it, so we can get at least 2 upgrades on the Sunday, 2 upgrades on the Monday, and then the Hello Query demonic remains, and so forth. But having this in the calendar is going to be such a huge help, because if there was going to be any changes, or if we have any specific things that we want to be planning, then we can actually communicate that really effectively. At the moment, we are somewhat reliant on logging into the game and sifting back through the warband chat if anyone has a change in their availability, or we have to look into Discord. So being able to put that here and actually use it in the game is going to be really, really cool. General server merges doesn't affect us in the Oceania region, so it is what it is. Hungering Moon, that's always with every update. We don't need to go through that. You can usually smash that out in a day and a half. And at the end of the day, hey, you get a legendary crest at the end of it. So that's actually pretty cool. Now, again, I don't play any other class but Crusader, so we're not going to cover any of this. This isn't the channel for that, but we have new legendaries. So, offhand, Desecration's Reprisal. Consecration deals 30% increased damage to enemies suffering total loss of control. Now, PvP is very CC orientated, so having Consecration paired with loss of control opens up some opportunities for us. Now we've got the Vortex build. We have all of the condemned legendaries that we've covered in this channel previously. I can see this pairing really well with the condemned primary attack buff. I have a PvP build, which is very much just a primary DPS build that uses blind. So pairing this, replacing, well, I've been using Holy Banner with that. Sometimes I use Conjugation of Light. I would be very interested in swapping out one of those two with this Consecration to see what the increased damage looks like with that. Hail Pilgrim on the chest. Drawing Quarter now also grants you immunity to knockback effects for 3 seconds. That is a very welcome addition. The likelihood of seeing a steed in PvP is extremely rare, simply because it's so ridiculously easy to get staggered and knocked back. I haven't seen a high-level Crusader using steed in PvP for a long, long time. Now, it grants you immunity to knockback effects, not stuns or total loss of control. I would have personally have liked to have seen this being an immunity to total loss of control for 3 seconds, but it's a step in the right direction and almost an acknowledgement of sorts that the primary skill for PvE doesn't translate at all for PvP. So it is a step in the right direction, and tip of the hat for that at the very least. It is a nice welcome addition. I'm curious to see if people go back to Drawing Quarter. The Drawing Quarter effects aren't terribly advantageous to PvP. The only one I could think of primarily would be the Lightning Steed. However, the provides a stun, but after 3 consecutive lightning strikes, which takes about 3.5 seconds for you to actually trigger, which is an eternity in PvP. It was one of my first builds that I did try because I was so excited about the lightning steed. So you could possibly how I was using that initially was staying very out of range because the area of effect on that lightning steed is actually ridiculously large. It's nearly the entire screen. So what I would do is hang around the outside, wait until the initial stun from the third lightning strike happened, and I believe I was using Grace and which other one to increase the duration of effects that do stun to get 9 lightning strikes. But again, it requires you to start at a mid-range. Now, this could possibly work in your favor in terms of having the 3 lightning strikes to proc the initial stun, and then this giving you the immunity whilst you reduce that range. It could be really handy for a support or maybe even a stun satyr with Frozen Chain to flank or try and push through a line of defense or offense and then attack from behind. I'm curious about this. I'm curious to see how many people go back to Steed in PvP and if this is going to help. Impassable Sanction on the pants. Shield charge now raises a holy barricade before you instead of causing you to charge forward. This barricade moves with you, blocks enemy projectiles, and decreases all damage taken from the front by 50%. There is something here in the developer's note which was really interesting. For the Crusader, we're introducing additional rage stun on Sacred Chain, aimed with the purpose of providing, again, it's open, it can be followed with drawing quarter to close the gap, and shield charge to provide defensive group utility. Now this, I interpret that as the Impassable Sanction being a group buff, and that everybody will get this barricade. Or am I reading this wrong? Because it is connected to shield charge. Does this turn shield charge into a group buff? It says defensive group utility, and I could be wrong. I could be interpreting that completely wrong, but I read that as being a group buff like all the other group buffs that Crusaders have. If that's the case, I'm very excited about it. I am curious to see if this changes shield charge as a dash, primarily a dash attack, because I've run 4-piece Gloom currently, and I would be a bit disappointed if I lose the dash functionality. But this looks pretty cool. A lot of people have been talking about the lack of actual shield effects for a Crusader. The Crusader holds a 5-foot shield. It should have more shield effects. So that's very cool. I like that. Right, the Recreant Shoulder. Sacred Chain now attaches to a single enemy, allowing you to render judgment on their soul. Once condemned, the chains will explode, dealing damage to and stunning all nearby enemies for 4 seconds. I'm really looking forward to this. I like Sacred Chain. I use a Frozen Sacred Chain. I've also used a Radius area of effect Sacred Chain that stuns once you leave that. I like Sacred Chain, and this is a very welcome addition. I'm curious to see, again, the notes say introducing an additional range stun. Well, is it the same range as Frozen Chain, or is it can I go further with this? The render judgment on their soul. Once condemned. Okay, so from the point of contact to full condemned and chain explosion, what time frame are we looking at there? Is it instantaneous? Is there a cooldown? The damage and stunning all nearby enemies for 4 seconds. How wide is that area of effect? I love the fact that it's 4 seconds, because the one negative thing with blind is people's resistance, especially at legend tiers, is so ridiculously high that the 1.6 seconds for blind almost becomes nullified entirely when you're up against 3.5k players. So having this as a long stun period to be negated by other people's resistance is really, really handy. Now, of course, you could, put everything into potency to increase that yourself. But having that as a long stun period is a very welcome addition. I like Sacred Chains as they are, so this was quite a surprise. I'll be switching to this immediately with my existing build to see how that goes. Now, the Ordained main hand. Falling Sword now swings a giant sword onto the ground, knocking enemies away and stunning them for 3 seconds. Is Falling Sword still going to be a dash and proc Barons? I don't know. Is it still going to have that teleport effect? I don't know. Falling Sword now swings a giant sword onto the ground. Is that when you hit the ground with it? That's going to be interesting. The stock Falling Sword provides a knockback effect. I've always liked that, especially when you use Falling Sword, Holy Banner, Condemn, and Conjugation of Light as like a glass cannon, teleport, cannonball, kamikaze, DPS build. We have a few people in the clan that run that, and it's ridiculously fun, especially at spawn or on idols as offense. So that's going to be really interesting. I probably can see that glass cannon build I just mentioned. We'll probably switch to that, because if that is triggering at point of impact and replacing the stock knockback with a full stun, that's really cool. I'm really excited for that. I am disappointed that the main hand, we've got so many Falling Sword options. I want to see a punish option. We already have a few different options for Sacred Fire, but we don't really have anything as a punish option. I would have preferred, or liked to have seen, a legendary for punish, because in PvP, I prefer punish over Sacred Fire because of the increased block chance, and also the fact that punish like lunges forward during your attacking, which is super helpful to close gaps. Sacred Fire, you're kind of stuck in the same spot, and all you need to do is take a couple of steps back. You can't hit them. So this is pretty cool. It's a nice Falling Sword edition. I am looking forward to trying it. I would have liked to have seen a punish effect, however. And lastly, Zell Flare Head. Sweep attack damage increased by 10. Now, bless their souls, but who the hell uses sweep attack in PvP? I think there is already a sweep attack increased damage somewhere. I haven't really seen anyone using sweep attack in PvP. If there are existing sweep attack increases and knockback effects, this could potentially be a good opportunity to kind of revisit it, I guess. I don't know. I'm not really, I'm completely indifferent to this one. But yeah, developers notes, as they say, for Crusader, they're introducing an additional ranged stun on Sacred Chain aimed at the purpose of providing Crusaders with more opportunities to start engagements. The opening can be followed up with draw and quarter and close the gap and shield charge to provide defensive group utility. That's really interesting. I'm looking forward to testing all of these. If I was to say top tier ones here, Sacred Chain, absolutely. Falling Sword, absolutely. Both have stun effects. That's great. Pants, situational. Shield charge, I would still like that to be a dash effect. However, if I am interpreting the developer's notes and this is a group buff, I'm very excited about that. I can see that working incredibly well for Vault or the Sunday events. The name escapes me. You know, Shadows of Mortals fight. Chest, draw, and quarter remains to be seen. Let's have a look and see what people do with that. Consecration, that's cool. Loss of control is such a huge focus in PvP anyway, so it's a nice welcome addition. And sweep attack, who cares about sweep attack? That's my thoughts. Fellow Crusaders, I would love to hear your opinions in the comments. Let me know. This does drop tomorrow, so I'll be working on getting some examples of some initial builds, thoughts and impressions once these drop. I was quite lucky last update. I got most of these in a matter of days. So my videos will depend entirely on when these do drop for me. Anyway, let me know what you think about the new video format. Let me know if you like this weird little animated version of myself. It's certainly a lot easier and more comfortable for me to do videos like this than try and put on a nice face and I've got a beard now, actually. My avatar's completely different. Anyway, I'm rambling. I digress. Let me know what you think of the new update. Are you going to be fishing? Who gives a crap about the other classes? We're Crusaders. What do you think about the new Legendaries? All right, I'll see you in the next video. Peace.